Why has there been so much focus by beekeepers against neonicotinoids versus other... Oh, all right. I'll try to go through this fast. Sorry about taking up time here. Funded by money that was lopsided towards showing what bromites do, what Nosema does, what other stuff does. And anything that's funded by an agency that is into conservation normally then goes ahead and focuses back onto the chemical side of it. Some of the stuff that come out to show that neonicotinoids are really more of a culprit than some of these other problems is that over in Europe, they gave safe in very measured amounts of sugar syrup. They let them fly out from the hives, and they discerned those flight patterns versus flight patterns of bees that were not subjected to them. Basically, the bees go away from the hives acting drunk. They're disoriented. They have a very hard time finding their way back to the hives. Bees don't have one central brain. They end up having little nerve clusters all throughout their body, and neonicotinoids focus on the system. Thousands of years, they have not had a natural predator in the environment trying to fight them off of plants. Plants have always worked in hand with bees, being very beneficial to bees and bees very beneficial to them. All these chemicals based on plants, not a natural situation for them, and they do not have basically the enzymes and the internal structures to try and fight chemicals that the pest insects have already developed over thousands of years. Varroa, that has been in other parts of the world for centuries, well, at least for the last 100 or so years, it's been on honeybees. All the United States have. While they've had varroa mites for all this time, varroa mites can't be really the cause of CCD directly, because if they've had it for 100 years, CCD would have come up 100 years ago. That's colony collapse disorder. So much. All right. Another one of the facts is bumblebees. They aren't subjective to varroa mites at all, but yet they suffer CCD. And they started about the period, but yet they suffer from CCD, and it's started affecting them also 2004 to 2006. Thing that rings a bell in my head here, even though neonicotinoids have been around since the late 80s, in the early 2000s, 2 new neonicotinoids were released to the public that do coincide with these colony collapse disorders. So while the chemical industry will go ahead and point that they've had neonicotinoids around for a world that is 2 chemicals, and you need to know them. It's clothianidin and thiamethoxam. On the early chemicals, and everywhere in the world that has used them has had colony collapse disorder too. Now, can we definitively prove that colony collapse is directly affected by those 2? No, we can't, because again, bees die for a lot of reasons, the same as humans die for a lot of reasons. But there is a lot of mounting facts that every year keep coming out that is really pointing towards neonicotinoids. I'm sorry I have to cut it off here and stuff. There's other presenters. If you guys have any more questions and want to know more stuff about this, just hit me up over at the table over there. I'm over at the second table there. Thank you.
Is that your paper? Is that one right that way?
Thank you. Very informative about bees. Now, are we going to stop spraying stuff in our yards? Good. All right. Next
I don't
up,
have a yard.
Joe Bliss, Polk County Conservation Board.
All right, everybody hear me okay? I don't want to stand too close. Better? All right. Well, thanks for coming out here today, folks. My name is Joe Boyles. I'm with Polk County Conservation. Lots of Polk County Conservation working really hard to restore and protect a lot of our natural areas here in Polk County. Iowa's kind of a unique state in that we have, back in 1950, we were mandated, every county was mandated to create a conservation board. So county supervisors appoint to serve tax dollars to that conservation board to spend on protecting and providing outdoor areas in their counties. It's worked well. By the time that was developed, Iowa has gone through a lot of changes, and it was the local folks that knew the areas that really need to be protected. Throughout here in Polk County today, we are very proud to be able to say that in the most populated county in the state, we are protecting a little over 12,000 acres of land that is available for you to come out and explore, enjoy out. I'm going to talk a little bit about planting native plants, some of the advantages of those, where they come from, and how important they are for the future of the state as well. If we went back 1,000 years ago, the ice age was retreating and the climate was starting to warm up. It was a pretty desolate landscape. We are just far enough out of the rain shadow of the Rocky Mountains that we get a lot more rain than the states further to the west, like Nebraska, Wyoming, and things like that. So as you travel out of that rain shadow, the prairies take on a whole different behavior and have different look to them as well. So if you start out there far west, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, you have the really short grass prairies, really dry because they're in that rain shadow and not getting much rain. So you only have grasses growing 12 inches tall. A bit further, and grasses start getting a little bit taller. By mid to late summer, they're 2, 3, 4 feet tall. Clear out here in Iowa, Illinois, North, 8, sometimes 10 feet tall later in the summer because of the amount of precipitation we get. You go much further east, and the dominant habitats out there are woodlands. So as those early explorers were moving west, the original thought was, the East Coast, they could jump tree to tree all the way to the Pacific Ocean because that's all they knew. But once they crossed that Mississippi River, that's where the squirrel stopped. He ran out of trees at that point. So Iowa's pretty unique. Historically, we were about 80% tall grass prairie, about 10% woodland, about 10% wetlands. 99.1%, 99% of our tall grass prairies are gone here in Iowa. Good thing, bad thing. Yeah, there's goods and bads to it. But the fact is, and every state today. The growth and death of plants year after year after year. Have all this material into the soil. That is what built up our topsoil to give us the rich agricultural soil that we have today. So it's no wonder it disappeared so quickly, because once they found that black gold underneath those prairie grasses, the prairie disappeared very quickly. Protecting the tall grass prairie is challenging because the price of corn today is pretty high. Beans are pretty high. Lots of agriculture here in Iowa. So we work really hard to protect these species and these ecosystems here in the state. Planting native plants in your yards, properties, in your roadside ditches is such a benefit for people, such a benefit for wildlife, such a benefit for the future of the state, that I really encourage people to try to get more educated and more involved in planting native plants. These plants are adapted to this climate and the soils that we have here in Iowa. So once you get them started, they're virtually maintenance free. 95% of the biomass in a tall grass prairie are the grasses. Big blue stem, Indian grass, switchgrass, cordgrass, little blue stem, lots of grasses. Several grasses make up 95% of the biomass, but 95% of the species diversities on the tall grass prairie are forbs, aka wildflowers. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wildflowers growing out on the tall grass prairies. Such a benefit for our pollinators. If you have a nice rich diversity of prairie plants growing in a planting, you have flowers blooming throughout the growing season. Some flowers will start blooming in April, some won't bloom until October. So if you get 30 or 40 different species growing in an area, you're going to have wildflowers to look at and enjoy throughout the season. All the pollinators are going to benefit from that. Lots of insect life is going to benefit from that. Birds are going to benefit from that. A lot of wildlife is going to benefit from that. These deep growing roots in the soil hold that soil in place, prevent erosion. The number one pollutant in Iowa's water today is when the pioneers first came to Iowa, the water was actually clean enough in our rivers to drink. How many of you would go down to the Des Moines River today?
Oh, heck no.
And dip a glass down in there in the river and take a drink of that? Or the Raccoon River? Or any body of water in the state of Iowa? No
I
way.
won't even wet a hook in it.
No way. Why is it in the condition that it's in today, our water? We have over 600 impaired waterways in the state of Iowa, according to the EPA.
That's
nutrients and pollutants as the water runs across the land, slows down the flow of that water to prevent flooding. Recreating our wetlands would do and slowly release it back out into the systems rather than a storm drain. Natives. On our lands, right here in Polk County, it's legal to harvest seeds, nuts, berries, and fungus off of the land. As long as you're not using it for resale. And you in your prairie garden. Birds benefit from it. Lots of flowers you can plant for hummingbirds. Birds will come in and eat the seeds after the flowers are done. The pollinators, again, monarch butterflies. Population has dropped 90% 90%.
It should
The
be.
monarch butterfly
It
used
should
to
be
be
on
as
endangered
common
species
as
list. The honeybee.
the honeybee. Yeah. Now today, I can't imagine not being able to take a group of kids out and catch and talk about the miracle of the monarch migration if we were to lose those guys. One of the biggest threats to monarchs, loss of milkweeds. It's a beautiful thing. Some people think it's a weed, but we have lots and lots of different, we have, I think, 10 different types of milkweeds that grow here in Iowa. There's one for your soil type, your moisture level on your property. You can plant butterfly milkweed on a moderately wet site. You can plant swamp milkweed in a really wet area of your yard. Give those monarchs a place to lay their eggs so those larvae can eat the leaves and continue that fantastic life cycle that they have. Seed harvesting is really easy. It's a great way to get outside, get some exercise, enjoy the outdoors. And it's incredible the diversity of things that you can find right here in your own county if you get out and explore those areas. I'm not going to stand up here and talk forever. If you guys want to come back and visit with me a little bit more about the importance of planting natives and how to do it, where to go,
and then after that, to be out of here. Nobody wants to go to community gardens. She's your girl, but we're going to do it really quick. After that, we've got some in the seed bomb, some vegetables, stuff. There are raffle tickets over here if you want to win something, so sign up. And there's also email sign-up sheets that we want you to take care of too.
I'm Sherry Teja, and I'm running for Iowa's next. Generate. The next Secretary of Agriculture, because originally I was concerned about the food I ate. And over the years, I get to know my farmers, get to know what was going on their land, and then see and hear what was going on in the rest of the agricultural community. And I got concerned about what's going on in our natural environment. I've been on boards and commissions for the last 20 years, and you don't need to hear about that. I'm glad to follow someone from the Polk County Conservation District for us, because he's got all the reasons why I have actual hope for our future. Find an even anywhere in the state of Iowa. And now we have hawks and eagles and falcons flying virtually anywhere in the state. They require some political activation. Okay, first we have to have somebody running for office who will make sure that when they talk about having stakeholders come to the table, they're including consumers and environmental groups, along with big ag. Will include actually all of the stakeholders at the table to address their issues. One of the biggest mandates for the Department of Agriculture is to address the issues of soil health. If we address soil health and have quality as well as water quantity. You heard the previous speaker talk about the biggest pollution in our water is soil. 50% of the problems with Iowa soil has to do with sedimentation. And when that soil comes off the land and goes into the water, it takes with the nitrates and phosphorus that cause the rest of the problems. So I'm running for Secretary of Agriculture because I really do believe that we can make a difference. But it does take, in a democracy, people expecting that the government works for all of us. So what I'm here today to do is ask you to find out about my candidacy. I've got cards here. There's cards up at the back. I also need you to support my candidacy. If you can only donate $5 to my campaign, then do it. It all adds up to make a difference for me. Make a difference in our food and the agriculture in Iowa. So check out my website, like me on Facebook, donate to my campaign, and come with me and help me recreate the Iowa that we all love. Thanks.
All right, if you want to go on the tour, Aubrey is right here. Franklin Community Garden on the corner. After that, feel free to start breaking up into stations. Seed bombs and veggie painting are over here. The kids' bubbles are over there, and we've got chickens and lots of other stuff for you to do. Hang out. Thanks for coming.
And now that the speakers have concluded, I think I'm going to actually take the opportunity. I'm going to take my strain down for a little bit, and I'm actually going to switch batteries on my phone in a couple of minutes break because it's probably getting a little warm. I have been going for almost 2 hours straight, and plus I want to get a little nibble. But I will be back up in a few minutes after I change batteries, and I'll be back in a few.